Hi, while the Pacific Northwest is giving me daylight to make this video without having artificial lighting glaring and blinding you off the top of my head, I figured I'd do a quick review of a new acquisition. Now, I've done a couple of reviews on Type 98 Shin Gunto reproductions that I've acquired, and both of them, the Eraton and the Ryujin, I'm pleased with, but they're considered very low-end swords. And I had my eye on something a little bit nicer and was saving up for it, and then found what I feel like is the identical sword with a different brand name on it from somebody else that I stumbled across on Amazon, and that's Murasame Swords. There's not a lot of information about Murasame, and I've been talking to their marketing director, Swan is what he goes by. He's been extremely helpful in terms of response and answering my questions. And he doesn't have much of a presence yet in the United States. He doesn't have a website or a Facebook page or anything. He's still working on that. So if you want to look at his stuff, it's on Amazon. And he has a number of unique things, and then a couple of things that make me go, I've seen that one before somewhere else. And seems like the exact same sword, including the photos, and there is this mystery surrounding swords that come out of Chinese forges in terms of, you know, where they come from and who makes them. And talking to Swan, there's a core group of really skilled craftsmen, both in terms of bladesmiths and the people that make the fixtures and do the assemblies and stuff like that, at different grades. And then there are different marketing companies which will then, you know, pick specific builds or ask for specific builds or build them themselves, and then do all the marketing, and they all kind of work together. And that's where you'll see different deals at different tiers and stuff like that. I have no concern or complaint about where they come from. Their products are very good, and I'll address the mystery of the Chinese forges in another video. But getting to the sword itself, Swan calls this one of his top level Gunto. He's got 3 in that category, and this was one that I had seen at another dealer that really caught my eye, and I really liked it. And the build is just wonderful. What you've got for the money, this is one thing to think about, is it does have a real leather covering on the sheath, and it's a nice soft leather. It's very well done. And if you happen to see a Gunto reproduction that has this, I would say go ahead and get it. It does provide the saya some nice protection. It's a very nice addition to have, especially if it's not breaking the bank for you. It probably doesn't add a whole lot to the cost of the sword. The biggest problem I have with it is when I'm using this for martial arts and I'm doing noto and I'm going to resheath the thing, this is squishy. So it doesn't give you a very good purchase on the scabbard for the resheathing. So the easy fix to that, since it is unsnappable, is just to roll it back like a pair of hip boots. And there you go. This also lets you know that underneath it, indeed, you have a nice paint job. It's a nice modeled paint job on the scabbard. And really, really authentic fixtures, which we'll discuss a little bit more. But yeah, this is very well done. Now I want you to hear something just for a second, so I'll be quiet. That is really, really smooth and well fit. Between the scabbard lock and the fit of the scabbard and the wood lining and how they did it, this is just amazing. This is as good as my original antique, and the one thing that I love about that original antique is that wood-lined metal scabbard, how smooth it is on the draw and resheathing. It is just impossible to describe without trying it. It's so much better than even a really good wooden scabbard on a katana, believe it or not. You have to feel one to understand it. But let's take a look at the rest of it. The fit of the scabbard mouth too, they did a super good job of this in terms of where that wood comes through the koiguchi. It's really well done. Everything about this is really well done, by the way. But let's talk about the sword and the fixtures. The sword itself, it's got all the right proportions, maybe a little less swordy than the historical ones. So you've got a 10-inch suka and a 27-inch blade. The fixtures on it, you've got a very comfortable grip. The ito is silk and very, very tight. has real race skin underneath and the authentic fixtures. Now this is a specific thing about the fixtures. On those cheaper versions that I've got, the castings are a little bit sloppy. You've either got the casting lines on the side still, those seams that are very visible, or even worse, around the sides there, they didn't do a very good job with the mold, so you've got some. It's beyond muddiness. It's actually completely obliterated in terms of the casting pattern on the edges. But this one, all the way around on all of the fixtures, it's just very well done. Now, one thing that put me off for about 5 seconds when I received the sword is on the website photos, it looked like antiqued brass, a patina, but it's not. It's actually a military brown enamel paint. But it's very well done. It doesn't bother me. I mean, if it really bugged me, I could strip it off and then patina this stuff myself. But I'm not gonna. I like it the way it is. I like it very much the way it is. As I demonstrated, the scabbard lock is extremely well fit, extremely smooth. The other things that are better on the Seppa, I'll have to give you a better picture of this because it's not quite showing up. But it's got not only the winged Seppa up against the Suba, but it also has 2 more, not just 1 more, that are both sculpted. So it has a triple stack Seppa on either side, and they're just very, very, very well done. The habaki, the blade collar, is copper, and it has a really fine grain pattern. It looks handmade, so you've got that rain style pattern on there. Like I said, the fit with the scabbard is just amazing. And then we get to the blade. The blade is a standard Shinogi Zukiri with an amazing straight Suguha Hamon temper line. It's really well done. It's extremely sharp, cuts very well. It's also very hard. This thing is testing above 60 Rockwell for me. It's a very, very hard edge, so it's very well done. All of the blade planes and the polishing, everything is just excellent. And it's supposed to be a 1095 laminate Damascus. At first glance, it doesn't look like it. The hata, the grain line, is not very prominent. You have to look really close, and then you see it, and then you realize, yeah, it's there, and it's very well done. And a prominent grain line pattern it's pretty, but it could be indicating that there are flaws in the steel that are going to sneak up on you. The same thing with the lamination. This particular blade, I think maybe a Sanmai sandwich 3-layer lamination. But again, you can't really see the seams between those layers of steel to prove it. But again, that's not something you really want to see because that could tell you that there's flaws in the weld and it's going to fail on you. The only way to tell would be if I broke the blade in half and looked inside. And I'm not going to do that because I really like this sword. The other thing about this, I showed you that buttery smooth scabbard, but the blade weight and balance is wonderful. This thing weighs about 2 pounds. It was a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be, especially for a sword that doesn't have a fuller to reduce the weight. This sword is really light, really fast, really maneuverable. It is so nimble in the hand. I'm going to have to do some demonstrations of how this thing moves. Which gets me to another topic. I did a previous video on my history of using Shin Gunto in the martial arts for the last 40-odd years, and why it's not necessarily a good idea to go find one today, but I seem to be collecting a lot of reproductions and really liking them, and remembering how much I liked working with Shin Gunto as a martial artist. And there are certain things that are not traditional for practitioners of Kenjutsu, Iaido, Bato-do, whatever your style is, but there's certain advantages. So I think I'm going to do another video that shows maybe why you might want a Shin Gunto for martial arts practice. So I will get around to that pretty quick here, as soon as I can, as soon as the weather and the light and my time allows me to. But until then, I hope you found this interesting and informative, and I hope to see you back for that one.